G'day and welcome back to Japan. Today I'm about 75 kilometers further along. I've hiked 75 kilometers since I last put a video up. I'm walking the Michinoko coastal trail here in Japan. If you don't know my channel, I'm usually based in Tsunami, Bali. I'm on a bit of a break at the moment, just doing a bit of a casual vlog while I'm out here. This is the coastline that suffered the brunt of the 2011 Great Eastern Earthquake and Tsunami, which killed about 20,000 people. And this coastline is absolutely jam-packed with these big coastal walls to protect such a disaster happening again. It's a beautiful scene here. Today is a wet and windy one. Quite cool, quite windy, but beautiful nonetheless. It's one of these coastlines in Japan which is a little bit sort of untouristed. There's a few visitors, but hardly any. And I really love it because it gets you out into nature, but also gets you into the real Japan. And I find that in most countries, once you leave the cities and you get into the country areas, you get a bit of the soul and the heart of a place. It happens in places like Australia. It does happen in Europe as well. Certainly happens in Indonesia. And it doesn't mean you can't have a great time in places like Tokyo or in Indonesia, somewhere like the south of Bali, but I think you get a little bit more of a taste of the real Bali or the real Japan when you're out here. So today I'm going on a shorter walk once again. It's only about 11 kilometers from where I am to my destination today, which is a hotel in a bigger town. I'll show you along the way, give a bit of an insight onto what it's really like out here, and we'll go over some of the cultural things here in Japan that I find quite interesting. We can maybe draw some parallels between Japan and Bali and maybe some of these Western places as well, because the more I go around these places, the more I find that we're actually quite similar. I'm probably one of the worst prepared travelers there is. Like, I travel a lot, and you'd think after traveling so much, you'd be a little bit more prepared, a bit of an expert, and I'm certainly not that. I came out today thinking, well, I know there's a little bit of rain around. It's a little bit cool, but because I'm walking, it should be okay in terms of temperature. But it's well, it's below 10 degrees at the moment, and it is quite a strong breeze. And all I've got on is this pair of footy shorts. It's not the end of the world. Like, your legs don't get that cold, but it is. Well, it's not pleasant. Let's face it, it's not pleasant. One of the things I've been trying to do in the past few years is that when you have bad weather, the tendency is just to sort of retreat indoors and just do nothing all day. And I've, over the past few years, been trying to sort of challenge that a little bit and trying to get out there. I mean, I don't, if it's a tropical cyclone, I'm not out there dancing in the rain necessarily, but I am trying to do a few more things just to, because I think weather can sometimes play on your mood, and sometimes you fall into the trap of saying, well, it's raining, let's just tuck up inside with a good old book, sit by the fire as the rain sort of hits the tin roof, and well, it does sound cozy and nice, doesn't it? I mean, I love to do it. Sleeping until 11, 12, maybe 2 when it's cold and raining outside. But yeah, as I said, I've been trying to sort of get out there a little bit more and try and do a few things at least. Just do a few things, because I think sometimes the weather really can ruin the mood, ruin the day, and it doesn't have to. Just gives you a bit of a different perspective as well when you get a gloomy view like that. I don't mind it. I'm the only one carrying luggage again today. Susan's luggage free, and I think it's going to be like a bit of a walk in the park. That said, I do know we have to climb a bit of a mountain today, so this is a typical scene here in Japan, an abandoned house. That one looks like a fairly decent one as well. I don't know what that is. Maybe an abandoned hotel of some sort. I mean, it looks quite nice, but it is abandoned. Although there's some smashed windows, that's certainly abandoned. Japan's in the midst of a massive depopulation at the moment. So you'll know that around the world, birth rates have really plummeted, especially in developed economies. Japan's particularly badly hit. Australia's got a fairly bad birth rate as well below replacement rate, and the only way that you can get a stable population in those circumstances is by immigration. And Japan is really against immigration. They've got quite a big program of immigration, but nowhere near enough to keep population stable. So they are losing about 1 million people per year. And what that means is that houses get abandoned. So people die and then no one buys them because there are so many options available. And you've got, so basically, if 1 million people are dying a year, you've got at least, what, 500,000 if you've got 2 people per house, 500,000 houses per year. Too many. So you get places, well, I mean, that's a hotel, but you do get abandoned houses everywhere. They're just everywhere, and they are more common in the rural areas. And whole villages are just becoming shells of what they used to be. They're being hollowed out. And it's quite sad to see because a lot of these houses have incredible character. So it's a big challenge that Japan's facing now. The rest of the world faces that as well, with these birth rates being so low, and we can argue about why that is. In a place like Japan, it's probably different to what it might be in a place like Australia, because one of the big issues in Australia we say is housing. Housing is a real problem. If houses cost so much, then people don't really have enough money for kids. I mean, that's part of the argument. In Japan, it's a little bit different. You can go into the bush in Japan and get really cheap places because there's always houses available for a few $1,000. But then how do you earn money for a job? I guess it's similar in a way to Australia, isn't it? I mean, you can go into the bush and get cheap houses in Australia, but then the question is, how are you going to earn money? And is it really somewhere that you want to raise your kids in a really quiet country town with nothing, no services? So that's a challenge around the world. I don't know how it's going to be solved, but certainly here in Japan, they're struggling with it. We have another bear sign here, and we've seen heaps of those. Like in our hotel last night, they said they had spotted a bear the night before at about 10 o'clock outside the hotel. And there's a bit of sort of panic at the moment in Japan about rising numbers of bear attacks. So we have our eyes open for that. There's a little bit of a monument down here. I'm assuming it's to do with the tsunami. There are a lot of tsunami monuments around the place. I mean, the number of people who have been killed in these towns. A town that I went through just recently had 1,100 people killed in that town due to the tsunami in 2011. And all of these places, I mean, would have been devastated. Like this whole valley here, absolutely devastated by the tsunami. That there, I don't know if that hotel was devastated by it, but I wouldn't be surprised because the height of the tsunami was incredible. So that's the bay that we're in at the moment. The tsunami would have absolutely ripped down here, absolutely ripped, 30 meters in height in many places. There's actually a lot of issues going on here that are similar to the rest of the world. That birth rate thing is certainly one of them. We used to hear of that a long time ago in Japan, of people not having kids anymore, but it sort of has spread to the rest of the world where people just don't want to have kids anymore. It's a little bit sad. I mean, I'm a childless person myself, so I can sort of say it with a bit of authority that there are a lot of reasons people don't want to have kids, and one of the main ones, to be honest, one of the main ones is that you fear that it's going to be too expensive to do it. And I know throughout history that's been a problem. People have always said it's hard to have kids, it's expensive. Maybe we are more selfish now than we ever used to be. Maybe I'm more selfish than previous generations. I'd own that if that was the case. I just went to the toilet and Susan, as I came out, Susan said, no, that's not a park due to the tsunami. This park here is about the mental health of fishermen here in Kamaishi. That's sort of the area that we're in at the moment, Kamaishi. They've built a beautiful little park. Japan's big on parks and public amenities, just big on it, and I love it. I love public amenities. This toilet that I've just gone to, I'm gonna show you it because it's interesting. These toilet blocks are everywhere, they're free, and they're always clean. I don't know who's cleaning them. Like, this is what it sort of looks like. Like, really simple, and little toilet there. Like, really simple, but always clean, and in very remote rural areas. Like, no one's here. Like, I don't know how many times that'd be used in a year, but they really put a bit of effort into that. I really love it. We don't get that in Bali at all. No public amenity in Bali, almost none. And it's really sad that, there are no public toilets in Bali. There are toilets, like, for example, in Sanur, there are toilets, but you've got to pay. You might have to pay 5,000 for them because some private citizens actually set them up rather than the government. And I find that to be a bit sad. In Australia, we do an okay job, but I think we could do a lot better. When you look at Japan, come up to another bear sign again. They're really banging on about the bears here. You do see a few bear signs on this particular trail that we're on, this 1,000-kilometre trail. Not always, and sometimes you're not really sure if they mean there is a bear now, or there was a bear once upon a time, or it's just like a general bear sign. We do know there are bears in this area now, specifically, so we do need to be on our toes a little bit. We don't want to come across one, that's for sure. They are Asiatic black bears, so they're not like the big grizzlies you get in the US, but apparently the Japanese black bears are a little bit more aggressive. They kill so many people each year these days. Usually sort of older people who are going for a walk in the forest like we are now, they'll usually take them down. I don't think they're trying to eat the people, but yeah, it doesn't really matter if they're going to eat you or not if you're dead. So we just got to be a little bit careful. We've got a bear bell, which is used basically so you don't surprise a bear. You don't want to come across, like come around a corner and the bear doesn't know you're there and you surprise it, it'll just come at you apparently. I've actually never seen a bear in the wild, and I don't want to. I don't want to. I mean, it would be pretty scary. Like if I saw a bear, I would be crapping my pants. On the way today to this particular dirt path or dirt road that we're walking along, we're walking along the side of a major highway, and Susan said, "Oh look, there's 2 tea bags hanging up in a tree," and next to it there's all these bottles and rubbish, and all along that major road, clearly people have been throwing their rubbish out of the car onto the side of the road, and it made me laugh a little bit because Japan has this reputation of being ultra clean, ultra polite. The people, like, you know, you see videos online of after a football match, all the Japanese fans going and cleaning up the whole stadium, and, you know, out of respect and all that sort of stuff. But we sometimes simplify the way people are. I really love the Japanese people, but it doesn't mean that all Japanese go up and clean after themselves and are super clean. It's just not like that. The world's not that simple. And I sort of draw those parallels to a place like Bali or even Australia. You know, in Bali, we always say, oh, the Balinese are so lovely. They've got karma, so they'll never do a bad thing, and they're always smiling. And in the most part, that's true. It's why we love Bali. We love the Balinese people. I love the Balinese people. But it's not always like that. It's not 100% of the time. Same as Australia. We say, oh, Australia's so laid back. We have this really laid back culture. You know, lounging on the beach, drinking beers. That's the sort of, you know, stereotype. But behind the scenes, you know, we've got big bustling cities with, you know, corporate headquarters where people are burning the midnight oil to try and get a report done and that sort of stuff, which is totally not the stereotype. These things happen all over the world, and to simplify people, it's a little bit disingenuous. So one of the classic things that's going on in social media world at the moment in Indonesia is whenever a bad thing happens in Bali, a lot of Balinese people will get onto social media, and this is one of the problems with social media, is that it really brings out the worst in people. Is that, for example, when rubbish washes up on the beaches in Bali, everyone cries, "This is from Java, this is not a Balinese problem, someone else's problem." Or if a bad thing, a criminal does something, it's always someone from either Java or from the East. We always hear these stories, and sometimes it is. But in a recent case, there was an accusation by a British lady that she was asked for money for the return of her mobile phone, which she'd left in a taxi. She said she offered the guy 700,000, and then the guy asked for $1 million, and she begrudgingly gave it to the guy, and then reported him to the police for not giving her phone back when it was hers, or something along those lines. Basically, that was the accusation. Now, the truth of the actual story, we don't know, and I won't get into that because I don't know either, but that's what the accusation is, and the guy himself actually got onto social media trying to defend himself. Anyway, the point of it is that after that, because the guy's name's Gede, which is a Balinese name, all the other people from other parts of Indonesia got online and said, "Oh, it couldn't possibly be a Balinese person, could it?" You know, sort of joking basically that this can be anyone that does these things. People do bad things all over the place. Not every population is all good. We all have our little quirks and our little differences from the stereotype, and I think it's nice to remember that sometimes we're not squeaky clean, we're not perfect, we've all got our dark side. It's sometimes to fetishize a whole population. I don't think it does it justice either. Yeah, I guess that sort of reminded me of that whole thing when we were walking past all that rubbish in Japan. It's not perfect, it's okay though. We still have some of the autumn colours here in Japan at the moment. That most of the leaves have dropped already, but there's a few trees around that are still dropping fresh leaves. We can still get this beautiful red colours of these leaves. Incredible. One of the popular things that people like to do when they come to Japan these days is to see the cherry blossoms. Cherry blossoms really famous. When they come out, they do look amazing, but what it also does, it causes an influx of tourists to come to the country as well, and it pushes up everything, pushes up the price of everything. And with these things, it's sort of always a plus and a minus, isn't it? The locals are sort of priced out of a lot of tourism attractions during the cherry blossom season, even though they love it as well. Tourism really sort of has this boom bust cycle on a lot of places as well. You can even see it in Bali. For a long time, Bali was sort of struggling to get decent tourism going. It's only really in the past, 10, 15 years that it's become mainstream popular. I remember when I first came here, it was a bit of a bogan thing, No one who was cultured would come to Bali. It was only the bogans. And then it sort of became popular over the past 10 or 15 years, and now it's like if you're a young person who's I guess up and coming or wants to be seen to be on the up and up, you're in Bali. It's the place to be. It's no longer a bogan hideout, except if you're with me, then you're in a sort of a bogan hideout. But other than that, or maybe some of you at home are bogans as well, but it's no longer that sort of bogan hideout that it used to be. But it also gets me thinking about what Bali's going to become in the future. Japan's gone through phases like you wouldn't believe. It used to be one of these places that you could never go to because it was incredibly expensive, and now it's actually quite cheap by international modern country standards. Bali went through some dark days, and now it's going through a boom period. Will it always be like that? Will the locals get sick of it and say, look, we don't want so much tourism anymore, much like has been the case in places like Barcelona and Venice? I can imagine that happening easily. You can already feel a hint of of people getting sick of it in Bali. People just don't want to be overrun by tourism. I don't think any of us want that, and the Balinese certainly don't. Just got the fright of my life. I heard something down there in the bush. There is something down there. I can easily hear it rustling around. I hope it's not a bear. It could be a deer. There are deer here as well. We just saw a Japanese marten. Google that if you don't know what one of those is. It's a really like golden coloured large weasel. That was pretty cool, running through the golden leaves back there. Obviously it was too fast for me to get a shot of it, but there's something down there for sure. I really hope it's not a bear. We're sort of travelling perpendicular to it, so we're not going towards it, that's a sign of not being aggressive, isn't it? So we'll keep moving this way. Anyway, I'll keep an eye out. I'll keep it posted. If there's anything down there, I'll let you know. Seems that bear isn't around. If it was one, can't see anything. This is pretty classic Michinoku coastal trail sort of terrain, up and down hills all the time. Or mountains. This one we're only going to 200 meters above sea level, but it's sort of a bit up and down as well. It's not just straight up. So you go up, down, up, down. We've got an easy day today compared to some other days, but it still like burns your legs. It's lovely though. I'm glad we came out today and ignored the early rain because it has fined up somewhat. Love it. Love being out in nature. Just love getting out and about, whether it's on a mountain or just down at the beachfront path in Sanua. I absolutely love it. This is the path that we're walking along at the moment, and one of the things that I'm endlessly amazed with in Japan is you have this evidence of a road being here at some point. That's all sort of a little bit washed away now, but that's certainly an old road, because you can see it would have come around like that, and then now we join the path that would have been the old road. Someone's actually carved this out. I don't know when. I'd really love to know the history of that. Is it something that was just done for forestry reasons, because they are plantation pines there? Or were these roads sort of ancient roads when there were villages in the mountains maybe hundreds of years ago? I'd love to know how that all worked. I know in some parts of Japan that I've been to, there are ancient pathways from maybe 1,000 years ago that look quite similar. So it wouldn't be surprising that there were these little villages in odd places like this a long time ago. I'm not sure if that's possible to know that, but it just always, for me, conjures up these images, and I really love it. This is pretty cool. Some picnic tables over here, or seats, and then we have a view into our next town, the town of Kamaishi. And in the distance you can hear, you might not be able to hear it on the system, but I can hear it. There's announcements, and that happens throughout the day at all of these Japanese fishing ports. I've no idea what they're talking about, but you do hear them quite often. You hear music playing occasionally. They have these big loudspeakers. Kamaishi is a large industrial town. Well, no, I'll rephrase that. It's a small industrial town, but quite a busy one. So there's a steel mill there. They've got coal being delivered for the steel mill. They've got gas terminals. They've got a massive port, a container port. But it's actually a small sized town. It hasn't got that many residents. Compared to many towns on this Michinoku coastal trail, it is a larger town, but like by Japanese standards, it's not that big. It's interesting that in Japan, they are quite industrialized. Even in regional areas, the industry is quite spread out. And it's something I don't think we do well in Australia. We certainly concentrate most of our industry in the big cities, and we don't do so much in country towns. We've got a little bit, but that's a bit of a failing of ours. In Japan, it's spread all over the place. What it does, it allows you to have infrastructure built that connects all your different places. So you can have a nice little train line going from Kamaishi, the town here, to the central main line, because there are enough customers and perhaps freight that will be able to use it. Whereas in Australia, you wouldn't bother building a train line to a country town if it's not going to be used. There's a little information plaque there, which is really interesting. It answers some of my questions, the ones I've been having while I'm walking along this. This is actually an old road, and apparently it was used for many, many centuries as the main highway between Hachinohe, which is one of the very, very northern towns in the main island of Japan, and the city of Sendai. So between those two cities, the road used to come through here. We're on that main road, which probably never saw cars. We're talking about a road for horse and cart and donkeys and that sort of stuff. Not and for people, but not for cars, I would say, because there's no way a car could have come down here, I don't think. Like, you just look at that. But you can definitely imagine people shuffling along here for sure for miles and miles and miles. And that being the case, there definitely would have been tea houses set up for people to rest in and have a bit of a drink all along the way here. And there would have been a bit of a population sort of built up around there being a highway. That's been my experience in Japan so far, in these remote areas where there are old roads, which is really interesting as well. The main road now between, out of this town that we're going to now, Kamaishi, it's actually a really long tunnel under this mountain that we're on. So there's a 2 kilometre tunnel that was built a very long time ago to get people out of town. We've just come out of a really rough track down the side of the mountain. There's quite a large abandoned house there, like from a long time ago. No road access, just on a footpath. And we sort of ended up at this place, which is a cemetery. And the cemetery looks well kept, so I guess we're in the right spot. Sometimes along these paths, the way markings aren't very clear, so you end up bush bashing a little bit, which is what we've sort of done today. It's all part of the adventure here in Japan and going on the Michinoku Trail. I love being out in nature, I love walking this walk, and I've loved that I've been able to get you to come along with me on the ride today in Japan. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all things Sanua and Japan. I'll catch you next time, and Sanpai Jumpa.